Hi everybody, it's Rolex here. This is the week 2 update on my league start character. As I said in the last video, Spectral Helix champion. I won't go over the campaign in this video. For someone who's new to the build and want to see how the leveling from Act 1 to Act 10, you can follow the link in the description below. I'll drop the link down. That's how I level most of my character, even in hardcore, even in Gauntlet. I did play in Gauntlet a little bit, not last league, but the league before that. For this video, I will focusing on just the character and how I crafted all of my gears in Trade League. For solo self-found, I recommend you to do more research with other experienced players like Darky, Alkaiser, Cicerons, Amexile, Karn, and many more. I'm not one of them. You should be focusing on the hardcore solo self-found player because generally they will try to push into the red tier map and their character will not be dying that often, even if you play a softcore solo self-found, because having a character that doesn't die that often will feel good overall to play. All of my gears are self-crafted using basic currency, essence, house, rock, and unveil from Ageling. There are more advanced crafting methods like beast crafting and fossil spamming, but I think that the way I craft are simple enough to follow even for a casual or a semi-experienced players, and I don't want to go too advanced for a league start guy anyway. Be aware that most of my gears are fractured based, so if you want to do this in solo self-found, I highly recommend not to, or you will be stuck in tier 10 map forever. Yeah, obviously you get a lot of fractured item, and if you're willing to progress a little bit slower, you can start doing a fracture farming method, just spamming more rare monster and stuff like that. But for Trade League, there are tons of fracture item available due to Arc Nemesis mod empowering elements that will guarantee to drop fracture item. So I think it wouldn't be that bad to bait my guide around on how to craft until Arc Nemesis got nerfed or the Arc Nemesis got reworked again. This video is not only guide on how to craft, but how I progress my character overall. So let's start off with the earliest but most important of the end game. From tier 1 to tier 5 maps, this part is the most important part of your character and Atlas as well. You want to have somewhat decent jewelry at this point, because jewelry won't scale that high based on item level. You can get really high life and resistance early on rings, amulet, and belt. Also, this is the easiest part where you can get your early Atlas passive points, because it's required just completing magic map once for each map. Your armor should be focusing on getting life, elemental resistance, and chaos resistance if you can. You don't need to worry too much about spell suppression yet, because early on with such low roll on each piece, you won't be able to cap your spell suppression anyway. For a weapon, you're only looking for something like this or any axe with 1.5 attacks per second and about 300 to 350 top end will be okay until tier 10 maps. Now when you finally reach yellow tier map, congratulations, you now have access to crafting method named Harvest. I don't want to beat over the dead, but white map Harvest is just impossible to get any crafts, but when you get to yellow tier maps, now consider usable. At this point, you should be done with your jewelries like having high resistance, high life, and a bit of required stat like dexterity or intelligence, and having a little bit of chaos resistance that wouldn't be that bad. After that, you're going to focusing on upgrading your armor pieces, either you pick up off the ground or crafting using various methods like harvest or rock, because you still want to save essence and basic currency for your semi-final gear process. Even though I don't want to talk about Atlas strategy, but I highly recommend picking up map related, June mission related, and expedition related on tree to help out with your crafting bench and help you get your gear without spending real currency like using rock for example. Before you get into raid map, you should have at least 20k armor full buff, 50 to 75% chance to suppress spell, cap elemental resistance, and positive chaos resistance. Cast when damage taken Molten Shell is not mandatory yet in early red tier map, but you will eventually need it, so if you have sockets, you can do it now. We're finally reaching the hardest part of the game because raid map modifiers are shared across all raid map. Moving from tier 10 to tier 11 has some new nasty and stronger modifiers that will make the build uncomfortable, like no life regen or 60% less recovery. Another problem is getting bonus objective in raid maps are hard because sometimes you can break your maps with Wild Orb and you won't be able to sustain Wild Orb or raid tier map yet early on. And because of this, I recommend you start doing side content here. I don't want to call anyone here, but if you never do side content at this point, you'll find it's really hard to sustain maps and map rolling currencies such as alchemy, scouring, and Vow. The only reason you didn't notice this in the past because they just changed the Atlas system in Arc Nemesis, which I can say that League and Sentinel shower you with reward even early on into the game. So this League is the first League where the League itself is not rewarding and is only the Atlas tree that will help you sustain currencies and map. So it's a change in pace, and obviously the loot deduction also make it a lot harder than before. When you're progressing at this stage, you should start storing a potential upgrade for your gear, but sometimes it will be hard to swap immediately, so I recommend you store a bunch of them in this process. Before you go into deep raid tier map like tier 14 or more, you should having around 30k armor, 8 to 10k evasion full buff, cap elemental resistance with some max resistance note on the tree like soul steel, chaos resistance above 30%, and 90% or more chance to suppress spell with quest flask up. You can obviously go into raid map with lower requirement than this if you feel like you're comfortable enough to do. For your weapon, you're looking for something like a 1.5 attacks per second and about 450 to 500 top end. This will get you through your first 2 void stones comfortably. When you get to tier 14 plus is when everything starts getting into places, and you should have your overlap done at this point. If you're just league starting, I suggest taking first to strike, last to fall, because this node gives huge value early on, whether intimidate on hit, free auto life flash when reach low life, and adrenaline for 20 seconds on top of that. These are incredibly valuable early on, even if you feel like you're gonna switch out anyway. Now after you start farming your end game maps and start doing some boss, rotations and stuff like that, I will go over my crafting method that I went through with this character, and you can try copying it, but make sure to optimize it based on your character state and the content you want to run. For me, I just want to have a well-rounded character that have a good mapping and a decent bossing. Before we get into how I craft, I want to say that you don't need to follow the order of the craft I listed here. You want to craft the piece that you need to upgrade the most, but for attack build, it most likely gonna be, just better weapon, so I'll start with that. For my weapon, I grab a fracture based on flat physical damage tier 1. If you grab a different thing, then you should use a different method. So I'm not gonna go over there, but I'm just gonna tell how I craft my axe. So I spam a deafening essence of seal, the attack speed one, until you get a hybrid physical damage, and then you edgeling slam it, just gamble until you get the prefix, and then you unveil it, and hopefully it's a physical damage, percent, and then you craft, finish it up with chance to deal double damage while focused. So this is a huge thing because most of the endgame boss won't let you attack that long anyway, so you having a 4-second time to deal the maximum of your damage is probably a really nice thing to have. Now go over to my helmet. I grabbed a fracture life modifier. In the case that you don't have enough suppression, you should grab the suppression one, and then you grab life on, and hopefully you get some really good resistance. But because I have enough spell suppression already, so I decided, well, I'm just gonna grab a fracture of life and then just spam the chaos resistance essence until I get, you know, some decent resistance and a little bit of stab. In this case, I got the strength. It just gives me a little bit of life and a little bit of damage because I have the iron grip. But that's about it. You spam essence until you hit a really nice suffix, and you use it, and hopefully it has some prefix open so you can craft something cool like I have right here, which is 8% physical damage from hits taken as fire. For the chest piece, I just go with life because it's pretty cheap. When I bought it, you know, I looked it for the spell suppression. It's very expensive. It's probably go for around like 1 or 2 divine when I try to buy one or something like that. Even more than that if you go for tier 1 and max roll. So I decided, well, let's just grab life because it's about like 10c. It's not that much, you know, like. And when you crop this thing, you basically do a essence crop or a harvest crop. Doesn't really matter what you do. It's just gonna have the exact same results until you hit the chance to suppress spell. And then I eventually just aceling it and got the armor and life hybrid, which is not that great, but it's there anyway. And I slammed it with Exalted Orb on the last modifier to get 52 dexterity. You obviously gonna crop this modifier, you know, 6% taken, damage taken, fist damage taken is 5, and fist damage taken is lightning, because you're gonna have not enough armor in the end game to mitigate all the damage. So because you're not playing armor stacking or even perseverant, something like that, you're not scaling high enough of the armor to have basically negated all physical damage. So having a little bit of here and there conversion damage taken, it's going to help a lot. Now we go over the globes. That it's probably one of the most important one because you need spell suppression, and also you need the attack speed and cast speed while focused, because you will have to craft this. Otherwise, your damage on bossing will not be that great. So this globes alone giving me like insane amount of damage, probably like 15% more damage into my build, because when you focus, your attack speed become really high, and then you can pretty much just stack your Spectral Helix before the boss came into play, and then you just, you know, basically stack a lot of the impale before the boss even attacked you. So that's really nice. So basically what you do is you grab a chance to suppress spell. You can grab a tier 1 or even a tier 2 if you don't need that much you know, chance to suppress spell there. I bought this one for about like 40c if I remember correctly, or even more than that, maybe 40 to 60 chaos orb. I think I bought it like really early on into the league, so it's pretty expensive because people were just trying to get one, I guess, because, you know, spell suppression is very mandatory these days, or feel like mandatory for a lot of people, especially for a melee character. And then on the middle right side of the tree, or even in the middle, you know, just like me, you know, we're in the middle, the champions in the middle. So I spam essence because, you know, you can't get high life on globes if you're not spamming essence. I eventually slammed with Exalted Orb, you know, on the last modifier as well. As you can see, the evasion rating, you know, 28% evasion rating. It's not that great, but it's there and it's okay, you know, to have. Now for the boots, you know, last piece of your armor pieces, I would say it's the same thing as the globes. You just grab a chance to suppress spell damage, and then you just keep spamming harvest for resistance and stuff like that until you hit a decent one with a prefix open or something like that. I do have the prefix open and I have like life and stuff like that, so I crop the, you know, mana, I guess, and then I just aceling it, just gambling it, because fire and lightning resistance, I can just spam essence until I get fire and lightning resistance. Pretty easy. So I hit the life, you know, 59 life is not that great, and then I aceling slam with the 27% increased movement speed and chance to get onslaught one kill. It's not that great. I'm looking for the cannot be shield, but it happened to just get me an onslaught instead, so it's not that good, but it's not that bad. So I keep it, and I'm still crafting the cannot be frozen on the boots anyway, because I don't want to use flask to remove freeze and stuff like that. I'm eventually probably just gonna recraft these boots, but this is serve the purpose for now. It doesn't need to be better, it doesn't need to be worse, and it doesn't need to change, so I don't want to spend a lot of currency just to get a little bit more life or just get a little bit more comfy in playstyle, because immune to shield, it's very good, you know, it's very good. You can run many map mods like you know, the extra cold damage or even a shield ground and a bunch of things that can slow you down by shield, you know, some vortex monsters here and there, and it's very annoying. Some creeping frost monsters as well. It's very annoying, but well, I will craft those eventually, but it's not gonna be for the, you know, a guy for league start, because league start you're not gonna expect to get very lucky on crap, right? So this boots, it take me just 1 try or 2 try, I don't remember, you know, on the Aisling slam, so it's not very bad. You know, you can farm Aisling yourself, you can also buy it from the TFT, but I don't really care, I don't really want to buy that, so I just farm it myself. Now the bell is the exact same as a lot of things, because you are going to get any preferable fracture mod, and in this case I'm just grab the chaos resistance, and then I just spam the fertile catalyst into the bell so it can roll easier life on that, and then I just spam, you know, some lightning, some whatever. How is spam? I think I spam about like 4,000 or 5,000 life force here with the lightning modifier, or just like lightning 5 cold modifier, until it hit, you know, tier 2 or tier 1 life. And this one also give me a little bit of strength, so I decided to stop at this one and then craft increased damage on there. Now is the ring, so we're gonna go over to my ruby ring first. This one I got it from Rock giving me this, so this is a really nice ring. As you can see, it has a decent amount of physical damage to attack, it has life, it has strength, and it has big chaos resistance, and I craft, you know, a little bit about chaos resistance on top of that, so you again a lot of chaos resistance just from this ring alone. So this one Rock giving me, so if you're doing your Rock, if you're doing expedition, I recommend doing Rock if you just starting out, you're late starting, but for 2 weeks past, I think you don't need to do that, because this kind of ring probably go around for about 1 to 2 divines. It's not that expensive. You don't have to go into the Rock and then try to craft this ring. You're not gonna get this one. You're not gonna get the exact same one, right? So hopefully you get a better one. Hopefully you get decent one. Now the second ring is going to be this is just an alteration spam and regal. As you can see, I have life and energy shield and dexterity and intelligence. So this is basically I just spam alteration until I get life, and then I think it land on some of the resistance, probably like fire resistance or something like that, and then I regal it. It hit maximum energy shield, so I gamble it with the Aisling slam, you know, with 3 modifiers, so it's 1 in 2 chance that it's gonna remove energy shield. It doesn't remove energy shield, so it's kind of sad, and then it add it's remove suffix, and then it add dexterity and intelligence that I really need, because I'm lacking of dexterity and intelligence at that time. But I think I can remove dexterity now, but intelligence still need to be there. And then I decided to have, you know, just craft 3 mods and then finish it off with the non-channeling skill. Have a -8 total mana cost, and then I can cast things much more frequently, and then my frostming is free. So when your movement skill is free, I think it's the most important thing that you will need, you know, so you can move around even when you're getting drained by, you know, mana siphon or something that's kind of rippy, and then you cast some damage, taking Molten Shield, taking all of your mana, so you don't have, you know, ability to move around. So I think this is a really nice one, and that's about it for the ring. This thing, it's pretty easy to craft. I think it's one of the easiest one. You know, you spend 2 divine orb and then you finish the ring. Now it's my amulet. Amulet is a little bit weird. I had my own amulet, you know, the old one. I think the old one is harder to craft than this one, because this one is it's a fracture one. So I just spam alteration and augments until I have the all resistance. You don't need all resistance if you don't need resistance, by the way, guys. But you know, I need resistance at this point. So I spam until I hit all resistance, and then I recall it. Hopefully it gets some resistance, and it eventually got resistant. I think it landed on fire resistance, so I need cold resistance, so I swap it with Harvest, and then I just finished off with the multi-mod. As you can see there, -7 and 39% increased damage while leeching. The reason I'm making Guy at this point of my character is because I think this is a reasonable amount of effort to put in for a character if you're not going to push your level 100 and just want to try out the build. My gears here are achievable even for a casual player who only play 2 to 3 hours a day. But yeah, it's going to take a month, but if you're enjoying the build, what could stop you from playing 2 to 3 hours for a month? After this video, I'm still going to update on how much the character has changed for the people who want to follow my Spectral Helix champion journey to level 100, if it can get to level 100 and not die multiple times repeatedly at level 98 to level 99 or something like that. Hopefully, it can get through level 100. Hope you all enjoyed the video so far, and I don't know if I will have a more detailed guide for POB, but I'm really bad at using POB. But at least I will leave the link of my profile down in the description below, and also the snapshot for this exact state of my character, POB. And don't be afraid to ask questions in the comment section. I hope to be able to answer all of them, but some in-depth crafting question I might have to leave it there. See you on the next video. Bye!